There's power in a factory, power in the land, power in the hand of the worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in a union. Now the lessons of the past were all learned with workers' blood and strikes on. Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Manns, and I'd like to welcome you to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is the March 4th, 2024 edition of the show. It is the 489th show that we have done since the closing of the North Adams Regional Hospital, and the 29th that we have done since the announcement of its possible reopening. The April 4th Coalition's mission statement is we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights and are against tax breaks for the rich and corporations who ship our jobs overseas. We support all the articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but as is our custom, we put the emphasis on Article 23. Dick, you want your usual too?
Yes. Number one, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment. Number two, everyone, without any discrimination, has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number three, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, which is any form of compensation, ensuring for himself and or herself and his or her family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection. Sue or Mike, are one of you going to try?
Everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his interests.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'd like to give a thank you to Michael Putnam, who is the Community Radio Program Director, for airing the audio portions of our show on WMNBLP 107.1. We know he premieres them usually Friday at 6 p.m., and they probably show throughout the weekend after that. And of course, to the fabulous staff here at Northern Berkshire Community Television for their assistance in producing the show. So thank you to David Fabiano, Joanne Hurlbut, and Nicole Brown. And tomorrow is March 5th, which we told everybody was a super primary day,
Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday, and that you can vote in person in Massachusetts
Yes.
if you have not already done so, by absentee ballot and so forth. And
Well, the deadline is to get those ballots in by tomorrow. So
yes.
get out there and vote. Vote often and early.
correct, and if you have an absentee ballot, drop it off at City Hall
Yeah.
in the drop boxes.
And in light of that, issue of voting, yesterday kicked off the Poor People's Campaign by Reverend William Barber of the Poor People's Campaign. He's trying to get poor people to register to vote and to have their voice heard. And so we have three little videos. One was from Martin Luther King Day last year, where Reverend Barber talked about the Poor People's Campaign, just a short clip. And then we have a news report from North Carolina, which talks about the Poor People's Campaign and what they're trying to do. And then one from Massachusetts. So there are three little clips, but just to get us going on the issue of voting and the rights of the poor.
We can't be satisfied. When 52 senators said no to health care for all people, even though they get free health care because they got elected, paid for by the people. And even though 700 people died a day from poverty, 250,000 a year before COVID, and during COVID, 330,000 people died. Not because they caught COVID, but because they didn't have health care to address the disease. We cannot be satisfied. As long as 52 senators, Democrats and Republicans, blocked Restoring the Voting Rights Act, which continues to allow states to pass voter suppression without any form of preclearance, redistricting plans that are racist in their intent and suppressive in their application. where even now there's a bill coming out of North Carolina arguing for legislative sovereignty that says once a state legislature passes bills on voting, no one can overturn it, particularly the state courts. That's not going forward. That's going backward. That's not the dream. That's the nightmare. We cannot be satisfied when 52 senators, Democrat and Republican, voted against the passage of the John Lewis for the People Act. And at least one of those senators, a Democrat, told John Lewis before he passed it, he supported the bill. But in the wake of his death, chose to follow the way of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and others rather than protect the right to vote. The democracy is just not under threat because of what happened on January 6th. January 6th happens in many ways because we too often continue to compromise with lies, which only empowers extremism. Just a few days ago, some economists were suggesting that the way to deal with the inflation was to have more unemployment. In other words, make the people who already suffer more rather than making the wealthy pay their fair share. As long as that reality and this kind of regressivism exists, then our movement must grow. It must intensify. It must be emboldened. We must be committed to legislation, litigation, mobilization, and if necessary, nonviolent action. But what we cannot and will not do is be silent or unseen.
A gathering outside the State House took place today to call attention to poverty. 22 News State House reporter Ellen Fleming was there and has a look at what organizers had to say about this issue.
The Massachusetts Poor People's Campaign took to the State House steps to call upon voters to mobilize.
We are the people, and we have the power. We are the people, and we have the power. We are the people, and we have the power.
A group of Massachusetts residents, faith leaders, union allies, and other advocates gathered to announce their 40 weeks of massive voter mobilization across the U.S. The Poor People's Campaign has existed in the United States since the 60s when Martin Luther King Jr., along with other advocates, organized to fight against poverty. Today at the rally, speakers drilled home some shocking statistics, like how poverty is the fourth leading cause of death in the United States, claiming over 800 lives a day. Now, the Poor People's Campaign is nonpartisan, but they have some key beliefs, like fighting for a living wage, health care for all, environmental justice, and labor rights.
We represent 140 million poor and low-income, low-wage workers in this country. In the state of Massachusetts, there are 1.3 million low-income voters, and we will be registering them to vote. And if our issues are not met at the state level, now remember, we're here to serve notice, that we will vote them out.
The mobilization efforts hope to activate the 85 million poor and low-income eligible voters throughout the country to make sure their voices are heard. Now, today's press conference coincides with more than 30 other states who also held press conferences this week to spread the message. Working for you at the State House in Boston, Ellen Fleming, 22 News.
CBS 17, of course, your local election headquarters, and primary elections have already begun across the country. Here in North Carolina, early in-person voting begins next week.
CBS 17's Brea Hollingsworth is here in studio with an effort to mobilize voters ahead of this year's election. Brea.
Bill, as the Poor People's Campaign, led by Reverend Dr. William Barber of North Carolina, announced a voter mobilization drive today from Washington, D.C. They plan to officially launch the campaign on March 2nd. The goal is to mobilize 15 million poor and low-wage workers who have been infrequent voters and get them out to vote. They say the turnout for low-wage voters is 20 to 22% below the average turnout. In order to combat issues like minimum wage and housing, they want to see that number grow for this year's election.
We have power. We've got to use it. And the time is now to build the third Reconstruction and be a resurrection of power in this moment. There is no turning back. March the 2nd, we mobilize for 42 straight weeks to shift the political electorate in this country.
Now, the Poor People's Campaign will hold a series of efforts throughout 32 states, including here in North Carolina, talking to lawmakers and getting people to vote. And this isn't the only effort that the Poor People's Campaign is doing to reach voters. On June 15th, they plan to hold a rally in Washington, D.C. Bill, Liz?
All right, Brea, thank you.
It's a massive undertaking. If he has the structure in place, he can do it, though. Because that strikes me as a door-to-door thing to get people to
We are the
register.
structure. We are.
We are.
We have to be that. We have to communicate with the people in our communities, to tell them to get registered and to vote.
Especially in Massachusetts, because it's really easy. Even when you renew your driver's license, you can register to vote.
Right.
It's not hard, or you can just go up to your local town board or city hall.
Go to City Hall and they have the little things there, and you just fill it out and hand it in, or if you take it home, you can mail it in if the postage is already paid. But the Poor People's March and Poor People, the realization is to show how much power we actually have, the numbers. We are the majority.
We are, definitely.
And there's so many people that are working poor that are stuck, just trying to survive, that they lose track of the right to vote, or they feel that they're not being represented. Now, locally, we have an issue at Mass MoCA. There's some workers there. Michael, you worked at Mass MoCA, did you?
Sure did.
How long ago did you work at Mass MoCA?
Close to 2 years ago. It's been a while. We tried to get a union in back there too. It's tough to do. You gotta get the people behind you, but I tell you, if you wait for Mass MoCA to do it on its own, it's not gonna happen.
Right. So
You gotta get out there and support the union, and the more people that are pro-union, the quicker you're gonna get it done.
Right.
The number.
And the reason they're going to be going on strike in a couple of days?
On Wednesday.
On Wednesday?
Yeah.
Is for the same reason as always, poor wages.
Yeah.
For poor wages and not recognizing the union in all probability.
This was in the Berkshire Eagle on Sunday. It said, MoCA union plans all-out strike. Workers cite acrimony with museum management during the negotiations. Meg Larrabee has been working at Mass MoCA since the fall of 1999. In those 25 years, she said employees have never carried out an all-out strike. That could change next week. Amid acrimony with the management, the union at Mass MoCA, Mass Museum of Contemporary Art, has decided to strike. 97% of the workers voted in favor. The union and the museum have been bargaining unsuccessfully over wages since October, leading to the planned all-out strike to start Wednesday. Quote, "We plan on being out there until we come to a conclusion that we are both happy with," said Larrabee, Artist Services Director at the museum. Chelsea Farrell, organizer for the local 2110 UAW, characterized negotiations as slow-moving. Frankly, our relationship with Mass MoCA, both at the table and over the past year of contract administration, has been filled with pure acrimony toward our union and the unionized staff, Farrell said. Mass MoCA Director Christy Emmons released a statement Friday evening in response to the strike. "We are extremely disappointed that the United Auto Workers Union has decided to take action against Mass MoCA in the form of an indefinite strike in response." She said, "Mass MoCA cannot agree to terms that will diminish our mission or operational sustainability, upend vital partnerships, reduce our programs, or fundamentally change our creative workplace culture."
In other words, they want what they had before. Management wants what they had before.
Yeah, I'm begging. What they said, the gap between what the union proposed for total pay for union staff and what the museum proposed isn't unreachable. Farrell said, it's about $150,000 difference. According to the union, the current hourly minimum wage at the museum is $16.25. The union is proposing raising that to $18.25. about a 65% of the members make below $18 an hour. In a statement Friday evening issued by the MOCA director, the museum said it's been bargaining in good faith and has made this highest offer to date on February 20th of a 3.5% overall salary increase and a $17.25 minimum wage. So they're $1 off.
They're $1 off.
They're $1 off in their
Exactly.
negotiations. But, you know, I talked to my daughter about this, who seems to know what's going on. She once worked at Mass MoCA. She said you can get a starting pay at Walmart, $20 an hour. I don't know if that's true, but this is what she told me. And she's probably accurate in that.
No, she is, because you can start at McDonald's for, I believe, because Billy looked into it once, you can start at McDonald's at $19 an hour. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Walmart's up to 20 at this point.
Yeah.
But remember, they're talking part-time
Yeah.
employees for the most part. But still, you know, Mass MoCA is behind the scale in terms
Right.
of that, in terms of what's going on in
Right.
Massachusetts.
It seems, though, we've had this issue before. You have a nonprofit that gets all their money from the state or from people's donations.
Or grants.
Or grants. You know, why not share the wealth?
Because they want the people on top want to stay on top, and they don't want competition. They really want to keep the money, because if you give the worker the money, then the people on top are going to want more money than what they're getting. Plain and simple, not the way it should be. But you got people who are very greedy, and the ones that are greedy want it all. That's why you got people out there walking. You know, they want a fair break. And if you give them a fair break, what, $1 difference, I think you said?
Yeah.
Well, then you come out and say, okay, here's the catch. We're going to give you more than what what we asked for. We'll give you 75 cents. At least make it look like you're making headway for the workers.
Yeah, so we're going to stand in solidarity with, they've made a point of saying the auto workers.
The auto workers,
They're
yes.
members of the auto worker union, but they are Mass MoCA
MoCA
employees
Yeah.
that went out and organized the union, and they associate themselves with the United Auto Workers. But these are their fellow employees, and they should be treated with dignity. They shouldn't be exploited. You know, if you can't pay people enough where they can live comfortable, you know, the cost of living's outrageous. They're going to have to, you know, not stop exploiting those workers.
You know, what you do is you look at the people on top, how much they're making.
Yeah.
Then you compare with the people on the bottom.
On the bottom. Well,
you
a long
see-
time ago, we always argued for a model where the people on top did not make more than 7%.
Or, no, we were,
Seven times.
yeah, that's
What
what
they
in
want.
Mondragon, that's what it was, or 7-1. We were even saying even 10-1, you know, would be, you know.
Would be sufficient.
Let's have that ratio. If those on the top are getting so much, the person on the bottom can't get less than,
Then 10.
yeah, you have a
10
1 to 10 ratio, you know? Let's bring those people up. Or bring the ones on top, bring their wages down, one or the other.
Can we ever see the people on top having their wages go down?
No. Well,
But we'd like to see it, but we can't.
we have another
Local
important-
issue.
Another important issue. So we're in solidarity with Mass MoCA. If anybody from their union wants to come on this show, they're welcome to. I'll be down there on Wednesday looking to join the picket line and hope anybody else that is in solidarity with them would show up. But we had some good news on this front. We got to make, you know, BMC North a real hospital. We have that behind us. Well, also in Sunday's Eagle, or this weekend's Eagle, was an open house set at the new NARH. As the opening date for the new North Adams Regional Hospital nears, Berkshire Health Systems will hold a community open house to show off their new inpatient units that will care for patients requiring hospital stays. The open house will be held from 5 to 7 p.m. on March 7th, starting in the hospital lobby. BHS officials will be on hand to conduct tours of the new rooms recently renovated to accommodate up to 18 inpatients at the Critical Access Hospital, which will formally open in mid-March, almost 10 years to the date when the former North Adams Regional Hospital closed. Quote, "This open house will allow the Northern Berkshire community to explore the newly reopened hospital's state-of-the-art facility, meet its dedicated team, discover the variety of health care services that have been specifically designed to keep their care closer to home," said Darlene Rodowitz, President and CEO of Berkshire Health Systems. "As a native of North Adams, it is my honor to lead a team of healthcare providers and support staff committed to making the new North Adams Regional Hospital the gold standard of patient care," said Lori Lamar, Vice President of North Adams Regional Hospital. The community open house will feature light refreshments in addition to the tour. For more information, visit the BerkshireHealthSystems.org, North Adams Regional Hospital.
So I believe that's this Thursday?
This Thursday.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful
You know
news?
something? You had a dream.
We all did.
We all had the
No,
dream, we all wished
I did
for
too.
it.
I was on the committee years
Yeah.
ago. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we all had a dream, and it looks like it's coming closer
coming
to
true.
reality.
But the thing is, though, Liz, dreams just don't happen. You got to work for them.
Yes,
You
you
know?
have to keep the issue in the
You
eye.
got to keep the issue
Right.
out there.
There was a person, there's that band Rage Against the Machine. They had some sort of award, and at the ceremonies, one of the members showed up and he says, "I like to quote my mother, who always said that history doesn't happen. You have to make history."
It happened. Yep.
So,
Well, it's the same thing as FDR saying, if you want something to happen, you have to make me do it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not just going to do it because it's the right thing.
Right.
Make me do it. And we do thank the administration down at BHS for sticking with it and for all their efforts to try. Yes, they waited until the model would be financially viable, but they didn't forget about it. They
Right.
could have just as.
in our elected officials, I was State Representative Barrett, Senator Paul Mark, Congressman Richie Neal, had the changes in the law, so it made us able to get that critical care access status from having a highway.
Right. Yeah,
Instead,
25, it's down. to-
had to have a two-lane road, not a four-lane road instead of a two-lane road,
Which
something
helped.
like that, which helped us to get this opening as critical care access. So we're very grateful to
So
that.
maybe we should thank the Commonwealth of Mass for never ever getting the bypass into Berkshire County, because that would have knocked us out again.
Well, yeah.
But basically, but also, folks, I want to caution you that, yes, this is good news and it could happen, but I haven't heard yet that they got the federal designation. Did that ever appear in the paper?
I haven't seen it yet, but I hardly,
I don't think they would do it if they didn't think they were
right,
going
I
to
think that
have
it's
it.
going to happen. And I've talked to one of our former members of our North County Cares Coalition, who is a nurse up there, and she said March 29th, they'll be opening. So I don't know
Well,
if that's
it's not
true or
quite
not.
mid-March,
That's a
but
rumor.
okay, we'll take
March
it.
29th, so which is the day after the 10th anniversary of the closing of the hospital.
Gee, that would mean
Just
about
in
2 weeks
time.
this can go
We
away.
can take that sign down. We can work to improve and restore some more services, but, we'll be very grateful.
Yes.
Now, there was another issue. I received an email yesterday, but I couldn't participate, but,
Oh,
It
the
was-
thing down in Pittsfield?
yeah, it was down in Pittsfield. There was the situation in Gaza is becoming more dire every day. Hunger and disease are rampant. Hospitals such as they are cannot deal with the ill and injured. Nearly half the buildings have been leveled. Most people have no permanent shelter. There's no clean water. The number of dead now exceeds 30,000. Calls for a ceasefire are growing. They come from Congress, and over 60 members have declared their support, including Massachusetts Congressperson McGovern, Presley, and Lynch, and for scores of unions. In fact, the AFL, its CIO itself, with its millions of members, is now on the record as favoring a ceasefire. The New York Times editorial board announced its advocacy just last week. The Los Angeles Times in November. Polls show that the vast majority of Americans support a ceasefire. We hope you'll raise your voice as well. come out and support the ceasefire tomorrow at Park Square at 3 p.m. I wasn't able to make it, but this happened at Park Square in Pittsfield, but it happened all over the United States.
It does.
And all over the world. There were demonstrations for a ceasefire.
Dick, do you have the contact info for the person who sent that, or the organization?
I don't have that right now.
Because it would be helpful for people to get onto their
Mailing list.
or action list.
Yeah.
Would it not?
On Facebook, excuse me, on Facebook, somebody put up this where this man was from World War II, and he said that he was in the camps, and he went on to speak about it, and then he said, now with this war, it makes me feel like I'm back there again, but we have soldiers now, he said, to protect us.
Really? In the camps, soldiers?
No, I mean.
I'm trying to
no,
follow it.
No, I'm sorry, did I say that backwards?
I mean, I'm sure we have soldiers now to protect us.
Yeah,
and
but
all
he said that when it was in Dachau, he said there was no soldiers to protect him. Did I say that correctly?
I'm not sure about the analogy, but
Well, I guess I'm trying to put it out there, but I guess today I'm definitely on a mental law.
Well, Dachau would be a German concentration
Did I
camp.
say the wrong thing?
No,
No, I'm sure he was in
Millions
there.
of people died
In
in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
right now, I don't know if they're comparable, what's going on in Gaza, but our military we're not our military, but our weapons are in the hands of the Israeli government, and they're using them
To create.
they
This-
killed 30,000 people, and when you have that type of number of people killed, half are women and children.
I mean, when they're unarmed citizens as
Yeah.
opposed to, because this can't be a conventional ground war, which is what Netanyahu is trying to do, treat it as if this was a conventional military operation with two military
Yeah,
forces
these are
fighting.
human beings.
But these are people who are caught in the middle of a terrorist government and Israel, and they don't have the weapons, and they're not the ones attacking Israel, but they're paying the price for what the Hamas
Right.
terrorist government
We
did.
want a ceasefire. We want a two-state solution. We want security for Israel, but we want security and
For the
self-determination for the Palestinians. And I think even Kamala Harris, when she gave a speech on Bloody Sunday, called for a ceasefire, although hers was like a 6-week ceasefire or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere,
Gotta
and
start
you need
somewhere.
longer than a few days to get humanitarian aid, and you need to be able to prove that both sides can hold the fire.
Right, but it's starving. People are starving, It's no matter what we do right now, if there's a ceasefire now, and we get as much aid as we can right now, there are people that
will
are going
die.
to die
Another
of starvation
10,000 will
and other
easily die.
diseases right now. So we have to, not to do anything is criminal.
Yeah.
We have to act, and we have to act for a ceasefire, and we have to act for treating everyone in this world as human beings.
Definitely,
Me
we all
too.
agree with that. So, I think we have about 10 seconds left, so vote tomorrow, or drop off your absentee ballot if you already filled it out, and we will see you next week, and power to the people.
There you go. How do the people?
There's power in the factory, power in the land, power in the hand of the worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in our union. Now the lessons of the past were all learned with workers' blood. The strikes of the bosses we must fight for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud, war's always been the bosses' wife.